Welcome back, everyone. I'm still Julian Peshujanka, and choosing the path of Rust for this series is Isaac Azael Cummings Bentley. You found the other transformation. Well done.
I like lifesteal.
There you go. Well, we're jumping into our second match of the day as Phoenix1 versus Team Liquid. After suffering their loss yesterday, P1's hopes of grabbing that playoff spot are dwindling.
I think it's fair to say they're dwindled. They are probably done and dusted, but what I think they should be fighting for at this point is not going into the relegation tournament, because this team in particular actually has a lot of championship points after a third place finish from spring. If you go into the promo relegation tournament, you forfeit your championship points. That means you cannot be in the promo tournament and the Worlds Gauntlet. So if they want to have a hope at making it to Worlds, it's about getting up to that 8th place spot. And they are, one game back of EchoFox, who just lost, so that does do them a favor.
Schedule kind of sucks for them, but while they did pick up a win last night, on the other side, Team Liquid still has a rough road as well if they want to make it out of the bottom two.
Yeah, I mean, they won, but they have not looked great. At least they did get one of those match wins under their belt. The losers match pretty much requires a miracle tiebreaker scenario to actually make the playoffs. But honestly, I mean, these are two teams sitting at 3 wins right now. I don't think the focus should be on playoffs any longer. I think playoffs is extremely unrealistic for either one of these teams. So they really just need to focus on trying to not get relegated and actually, for P1, fighting for promo relegation, or sorry, to avoid that and get to the Worlds Gauntlet.
Well, we'll see what happens as we check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Phoenix1. So we're trying to get it all together. In the top lane, it's Zig. In the jungle, MikeYeung. Mid laner, Pirean, newly joining the team back again. Bot laner, Arrow, support Xpecial, and Coach Fly.
And on the red side today is going to be Team Liquid. In the top lane, Lourlo. In the jungle, Reignover. Mid lane, Goldenglue. And bot and support will be Piglet and Matt with Coach King.
And it's kind of good to see, after just seeing EchoFox actually sitting in the same chairs, Liquid will not be making any obtuse, random, or intense
they had their
substitutions
turn doing that.
yet. They did.
Yeah.
Again, Liquid, another big roster. I kind of like moving some of those players in and out, but to me, these are kind of the original rosters for this summer that Liquid stuck with, and I think have been building, more chemistry, more synergy together. Even though Liquid are a bottom-tier team, I think these are 5 that can succeed. And like you said, the win yesterday maybe didn't look great, but certainly have the potential to here. And against a struggling team like Phoenix1, one of your best opportunities to pick up some wins.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I also think that for teams that are at the bottom of the table, anytime there's a new patch, a new meta, is an opportunity to get one step ahead of the curve. If you can figure something out before your opponents, even if they can play it better than you, it doesn't matter. You can get some wins with those strategies, with those picks, hopefully before your opponents actually pick up on that. And one of the things that people always praise Reignover for is for how smart of a player he is. This guy's still, considered by junglers as one of the smartest pathing junglers, as one of the smartest and kind of best junglers in the early game because of all the pre-planning he can do. And if he can actually take that and figure out some of these new jungle routes that we've been seeing, things like the Maokai super leashes and things that you could do with Cho'Gath and some of these new tank junglers, maybe he could succeed.
Well, I have to think so, but up against MikeYeung is a tough ask. Also a very smart, cerebral player. Bans have started to hit those, so Kalista and Nara, actually the first 2 target ones from P1, with Zach and Caitlyn, kind of more of your red side standards there from Liquid. Gragas will actually be the last one there for Phoenix1, a champion that we didn't see too much of in the last series, but is certainly huge amount of presence around the world.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's one of those champions that is a flex, top end jungle. Lourlo and Reignover both have been known to play it, so makes some sense there. But Maokai and Cho'Gath both are on the table here. I feel like Cho'Gath ban is a little bit weird, but I mean, because you are giving up the ability to first pick Maokai and then you can't respond. Like, why would you not just not ban either of them when you're going to leave the Maokai up anyway, and then try to take the Cho'Gath as a response? Because Cho'Gath is a flex pick. It's one of the best champions in the game right now in both top and jungle. So to me, that's a major head scratcher. Like, you can say, oh, well, they don't want to play it. Well, why don't you know how to play, one of the best champions in the game right now? Why are you not playing that?
Reignover played Maokai yesterday. He definitely knows how to play it. Well,
I'm saying the Cho'Gath.
Oh, yes, that's true too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Tough one, certainly. Phoenix1. It's not the first time they've exploited someone in draft, with Cho'Gath kind of being that pick in contention. So first pick Maokai for them, Thresh and Elise the answer there for Liquid. So we seem to have discovered at least the potential answer here for Liquid. We're just going to beat you before it matters, which is a tough ask.
It is.
But that seems to be the plan as Tahm Kench gets locked in for Phoenix1.
And I mean, Thresh still a premier bot laner, or at least still a very strong early game jungler. These are not bad picks, but it's just that looking at the strength of tanks and the fact that you could still have this lineup with the choke at top is something that makes you wonder a little bit. That being said, this is the draft they're going with, and we have to talk from there. I think that the Tahm Kench pick is extremely smart from Xpecial into both of the picks that have been shown. Not only is it going to be effective into any lane that is drafted from here, because the Thresh is so easily kind of answered by the Tahm Kench, it's also super good into the Elise. You can also eat people out of those cocoons, so I think very strong answer so far.
And there's actually Sivir for Team Liquid. I guess into the Jhin is maybe Piglet's thinking there.
Sivir also, I think, just rising in priority a lot because it's one of the carries that in the late game can actually deal with tanks, right? This is someone who can shred through the tanks, who can kind of offer that utility role, be able to actually clear out waves, as some players are kind of left with these teams that don't have as much wave clear, so he can kind of answer that. It can be a strong late game threat. I think it also works well in combination with tanks, giving them more ability to engage. So I think that Sivir can be pretty strong, and we've been seeing it a lot more of this patch.
Certainly have, as Cassio is the first ban in this phase for Team Liquid. Phoenix1's response comes to Leah. So mid lane is getting targeted here in this phase. Makes sense, given that neither one has picked one up. Talia's certainly been a big pick for both Goldenglue and Pirean, and Cassio in general tends to be rising in priority.
Yeah, LeBlanc's still on the table. If either one of these mid laners wants to go for it, that is something that is still considered a quite high priority. Talia, obviously very high priority here too, so LeBlanc going to be taken off the table, as is the Cassiopeia. It's interesting to see that Liquid wants to go for that route. To me now, that's kind of showing that they probably want to just like pick an Orianna or something like that, like right here as their next pick out of this round. We'll see if Phoenix1 is going to ban that away, because I think that Orianna does add more wave clear, more consistent DPS and protection for the Sivir, and you're setting yourself up for a very powerful composition with the addition of one of those top lane tanks.
Nice to see Gallia being banned. Certainly has dropped off a lot, but in the mid lane, we do see him every so often, and Goldenglue has shown a lot of good games on the champion. I think Team Liquid, though, are going to have to show us something here. I imagine they're trying to counterpick top lane, but if they want to save it for mid, they can do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can go either route. I think Orianna makes so much sense, as I was saying here, with those bans and with the composition that they're drafting. Now you have multiple forms of speed up. You have a very powerful team composition already coming together. All they need is a tank. There are still some of those, obviously, left in the pool that they could go for. You can obviously go for kind of more of these fighters too that can kind of function in that role. Something like a J4 top can be pretty strong, I think, in this composition for TL. For Phoenix1 now, they have to kind of decide, what is our answer? What are we going to be looking for? Corki, I think, can match up pretty well in the mid lane against the Orianna. It also, I think, is a pretty solid choice in addition to the Jhin, because Jhin is one of those champions in the bot lane that is not really high consistent DPS. It's more about the burst, and Corki can really kind of shore up some of those gaps.
I think so, as well as Corki there for Pirean, a Kayn hover.
Could be Kayn jungle, right? Like, this could still be Maokai top lane. So that is one of the things that makes this pick so powerful, is it always is able to be flexed, and not going to be Kayn just yet.
MikeYeung playing with our hearts after suffering some losses to it yesterday. Has some fun by flashing a pick, but looks like it's a standard for him with Elise getting locked in as P1's final one.
Yeah, so it's essentially just double marksman type composition. Very little damage from the rest of the squad, but they have utility, they have engage. Can be a pretty powerful comp. For Liquid now, I'm expecting something like a J4. Honestly, in the top lane, you can go some other routes. Like, there is still Shen available if you want a pure tank and things like this, but I think J4 makes more sense for the engage alongside the Orianna, give that ball delivery system. And I actually really like the Team Liquid composition. I do favor them coming out of the draft, I think, here. And I think that P1, while their composition can certainly work and can be strong, it's like there's a lot of threats and there is a lot of damage coming out of TL that can shred through the front line, which can kind of make it tough, I feel like.
I think so as well. I mean, it will be kind of interesting to see exactly how the early game develops moving into mid, because I think both these teams, obviously, like any competition, you can snowball pretty aggressively. Phoenix1, to me, I don't mind their comp, but it feels like not the same robustness that I see in a lot of these Maokai-based comps. Corki, to me, kind of in a weird flux spot at the moment, given how many changes have happened in the metagame. He's not a huge tank buster, but he's decent at it, and he's kind of vulnerable to assassins, and then still kind of just splits every other control lane matchup. So curious to see what's kind of happening here. I think TL did drop very well moving into that Orianna pick, because for me, if you ban like this, you're basically telling Pirean that he doesn't play Syndra, trusting in that your information on your opponent is correct, knowing that this pick is safe, and then kind of developing the rest of the draft from there.
I especially think that P1's composition can be very strong in the early and mid game. I think that is really where I favor them most. But when you look at like 6 items and stuff, like Sivir and Orianna, champions like this are going to provide so much threat and so much damage that it can be really tough for P1. But the mid game, very strong for them. You can move around the map with Tahm Kench. You can look to create fights with the Jhin ultimate in combination with the Maokai and the Elise. Like, that is very, very powerful. So I think they certainly have their opportunities to actually create these picks and create these fights. And we'll see if they can do that, or if TL can kind of just hang on and look for one of those late game wins.
Well, we'll see. TL certainly kind of ground through their series yesterday, but managed to pull out the surprising win for them. You know, not a whole lot to lose for this team at this point. Yes, trying to climb out sort of those bottom spots, but certainly there are times where to really shake things up is here in the back of the season. P1, I think maybe a little more on the line for them at this point. Obviously, both teams do want to win, but P1 have to be thinking, it would suck to just not even get a chance to play at Worlds, and that is the reality if you don't make it to 8th or better. Yeah,
you lose those championship points if you go into the promo relegation tournament, so that is what you're talking about. Obviously, both teams really do not want to get relegated. I mean, we saw how much TL was willing to do, you know, bringing in Double, bringing in all these players, trying to not get relegated last split. I'm not sure if there's going to be any crazy last-minute kind of swaps for them if they are facing down that prospect. But P1 still theoretically can make Worlds, right? With the way that they're playing, it's certainly not likely, but they want to keep that chance alive. They want to continue to look to improve and have that as a goal.
I think, again, for P1, you have to have had such an interesting arc as an organization since joining the NALs, but particularly given their performance last spring, which is what's giving them all these points they're trying to hold on to. I mean, Arrow is that player that was the MVP last split, and with very good reason. It's been just a rough road for P1, to say the least.
But I mean, even given their Rift Rivals performance, right?
Yes.
Like, there was a lot of hype going into Rift Rivals, a lot of hype coming out of Rift Rivals, and that has somewhat dissipated as it just seems like, well, okay, I guess you just aren't able to actually perform at that level here. Plus, Ryu is kind of, you know, taking a break. He's taking a step down, whatever's going on there. So there certainly have been some changes for the team, and I think that has made things probably more difficult as well, but they just have not really shown up to the level that people, I think, were expecting from them after some of their really great performances, you know, against Immortals and at Rift Rivals.
Yeah, and there does seem to be a bit of variance there for the P1 squad, turning back into a bit of a pumpkin since returning, but we'll see if they can rise once again. Looks like a Super Leash was the deal there for MikeYeung. Reignover with more of a classic standard clear on the blue side, but both farming at a pretty good pace. We'll see if MikeYeung gets aggressive with this early timing.
Yeah, I mean, getting that Super Leash can actually be very important when you have so much gank assist, especially when you're looking at the top lane. Maokai and Jarvan very easily able to set up ganks for both of these junglers, and Reignover maybe gonna smite that away.
Gets
Get it, but I mean, he doesn't have a red buff. He can't fight.
Repels back out of the way onto Pirean. Goldenglue actually going to stand and fight instead. Heal already burnt by the Corki. Goldenglue ghosting forward, trying to get something done. MikeYeung gets the tag, but Lourlo's downhill already. MikeYeung looking to make a heroic play, but a great kick in for Reignover. Gives Goldenglue first blood.
Oh, yeah, and MikeYeung not able to actually utilize a flash to try to flash over and dodge that or anything. Didn't actually think. I think that the Cocoon was back up just yet. Thought he could get in there, maybe trade out his life, but get the first blood. Instead, they don't even get a kill. Goldenglue gets double buffed.
Might have get a solo kill.
Pirean could die here. He could look for the flash. We'll see if he goes for it.
Might save him. He's going to do so. Last auto. Not quite enough to kill him. I think Thunderlords was on cooldown, because otherwise Pirean was toast.
Oh, that's just brutal. And a lot of it came down to the fact that Lourlo had the push. He could make their own faster. Reignover pretty brave, actually, spending all his spells on that scuttle, and he doesn't even have a red buff, so he's kind of opting into this, but Goldenglue getting over here faster. I think Goldenglue played this fight very, very well, despite being level 2, got a very good chunk on his opponent, and yeah, the roam coming down from Lourlo, that really did make the difference.
Yep, that one little bit of CC at level 2 from J4 was enough to give Goldenglue first blood, and TL up to 1,000 gold lead already, which is massive this late in the game, especially because Piglet is stomping the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, Arrow is struggling now.
Oh, hello! All right, Matt rides in for the double, but not enough value there as Xpecial does get a devour just in time for Arrow to avoid most of that damage. Still, the CS difference is not pretty here in the bot side.
No, and I mean, this is something that can be recuperated, but it's never a good feeling to be off to a start like that. You know, when you just lost first blood on the top side of the map, now your bot lane is pretty behind, now you know you're getting invaded by Reignover. These are all things that can kind of lead to those feelings of frustration. Neither jungler with Smite right here.
Reignover though with the red buff. MikeYeung lost his to Goldenglue.
Reset.
And Krugs are back to their camp. Hook lands, great little one onto Arrow, but Xpecial with another good Devour.
Yeah, Tahm gets so annoying. And Reignover now, if your lanes are winning, all you really want to do is kind of waste the other jungler's time. So he's willing to kind of play around with MikeYeung a fair bit there. He has Moby Boots now all the way up to mid lane. Pirean could be in some trouble.
Does have his flash, but Reignover is kind of tracking him around the other side of the wall.
Corralled.
He's going up towards that top side where Lourlo is currently fighting Zig. Does Valkyrie away, but Reignover is going to keep chasing here. Why not? As Pirean going to maybe have to burn that summoner. Does finally use it. TL able to force it.
Yeah, and chased out of mid lane again. So going to be losing some of this experience here. Bot lane still shoving. Maokai did not actually make the roam. Zig just decided to go back to base, and that may be the smarter choice to just kind of prioritize his lane from here. Does glide that early Glacial Shroud, and we'll see what he's going to build into. You do have some options. Can go straight towards Righteous Glory, which can be pretty powerful if you're saying, hey, we need to win mid game, we need to have really powerful engage. That's a very strong first buy. But obviously, there's a lot of options there. You can go towards, Iceborne. You can go towards the Frozen Heart. So we'll see what he does.
MikeYeung visiting bot lane now, actually in mid. Does take out the controller that he was sitting on. That Goldenglue got the wave in a nice spot. And just kind of sitting on his lead right now. A very early lost chapter. Getting those double buffs from the first blood, so he is real far ahead of his lane opponent.
Yeah, and he's going to be getting his blue buff pretty soon here too, so he's never really going to have that window where Corki is going to be able to kind of bully him because the Orianna runs out of mana. That's one of the advantages that Corki sometimes has. As this AD carry with Warlords, you push him in, you kind of bully him out, you allow him to go out of mana, and that's when you can kind of maybe make him have an awkward buy timing or something. But that's never really going to come to fruition. Good
hook onto Xpecial this time around. Can't devour himself as Piglet.
I don't know if he should go in there.
Damage. Matt did follow the hook, but Piglet actually just fighting in front of them. Did spell shot a little early, but the bouncy grenade gives him some mana back.
That seemed like P1 maybe could have actually fought. Like, with 2 stacks on Piglet and the spell shield down, if Xpecial was actually able to get that 3rd stack on him with the exhaust, you can eat him up, and that's usually a 1 fight. They still have all summoners available, but definitely a little bit nervous, I think, of where Reignover could be, because if Reignover gets Lantern in, that fight goes to disaster. And being down this heavily on CS obviously sucks, but it's recoverable. It's not recoverable if you're then this far behind and then die, That's where it can be pretty much lights out.
Goldenglue again continuing to bully here. Level 6, so threatening Pirean with a potential ultimate, especially if Valkyrie is down. Looks like some recalls will happen in the bot side, though. Piglet going to go back and grab a BF sword as Goldenglue keeps harassing here. And one little thing that I haven't seen too much of, actually that coin onto Thresh. Coin has certainly bumped up in value so much, but for a while it did feel like Targon's was
gank assist.
Remember though, up here on the top side, Zig already in trouble as Lourlo starts it off. Does trap him though. Great kind of mini immune there on the ultimate, and Zig goes down to Reignover. Really well played by Lourlo.
Yeah, I mean, Zig played it pretty well, but there's just no way you're getting out of that gank unless you have early warning. And one of the things you need to really do on a Maokai is throw your saplings in every brush that they can enter, right? You take the time to actually walk out, and if you have a sapling in Tri-Brush, then not only do you get the big slow on the junglers they try to come in, you get the early vision, and you can maybe walk out of that, because once they're already on top of you, there's actually no escape. So the mistake from Zig was simply not getting out and actually having the pre-warning.
Goldenglue commits his ultimate to mid lane, but enough to harass Pirean out of the way as they look to steal this blue. Goldenglue will get it, but collapses here. Lourlo here first, so onto MikeYeung. The cocoon is going to go away, but MikeYeung already going to go down. Repel is enough to follow. That ward, I believe, to help Reignover hop over, but MikeYeung flashes smartly and gets away.
Yeah, the missed cocoon there does mean P1 gets out, and that's a couple summoners blown. 4TL, Flash on Reignover and Goldenglue both committed. And here's the play again, as you can see. No sapling in that Tri-Brush. He does have a pink ward down in the river, but it's way too late. By the time he actually sees Reignover, there's no escape whatsoever. So need to get out there, prioritize the early vision with the saplings or with a trinket ward. Because to me, that is one of the biggest strengths of Maokai top lane, is it's actually so incredibly hard to gank if you always keep a sapling in the brushes that your jungler can approach from. Keep throwing them in the top lane brush, keep throwing them in the Tri-Brush. If they try to clear them out, then A, it can kind of tip you off, and B, it can chunk your top laner out.
Well, Zig didn't do too much of that, so finds himself with a death as Pirean returns to mid lane. Again, continue being pressured here. It's down about 20 CS as Goldenglue is going to return with his Sword Truth and then Amp Tome. Reignover starting another blue. Might just give this one to himself, given all the effort he's done early. Can't blame him, and of course Goldenglue has the one they stole, so Reignover doing a really good job using Elise's early strength and really just playing around this map and giving TL some good leads. I mean, they're up almost, actually, yeah, pretty much up 2,000 gold as Pirean forced to burn the package in mid lane.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for Pirean. He was kind of a victim of circumstance, it feels like. You know, getting chased out of mid lane because that early fight went wrong and MikeYeung gave over double buffs, then getting chased out to top lane again as Reignover came in and ganked him, and he's just been pushed out a lot. So it's not even really like he's like CSing poorly or anything per se, but he has ended up down a fair chunk of CS, and the first blood going over to Goldenglue, plus blue buff going over to Goldenglue and his getting taken away, means he's being put in a really hard to win spot, and it's good play from Reignover.
Yep, Goldenglue also kind of abusing his lead as much as he can, which is smart play there from the Orianna. Pirean forced to farm as much as he can.
There they go.
Looking to get a roam into the backline. Blue's MikeYeung in, but Matt actually gets the hook down as the TPs are coming in from top lane. Kick back there on the mat as he's a little too far out. Gonna flash out of the way, try and get one down, but MikeYeung taken up by Lourlo, who used that ultimate Xpecial. Flashes through as the roots from Maokai are gonna lock them all up, and now Goldenglue in a bit of trouble, but the Cocoon's gonna land onto Xpecial. Should be a kill. Goldenglue able to grab it as TL with a great collapse in the bottom lane.
Yeah, all 5 down to bot lane here for TL, and Pirean could not make that roam. He's pushed in, he's out of mana, can't actually do anything about it, and TL off to a very strong start, looking to knock down this turret and really open up that gold lead even further.
Cocoon Lance hits on the Zig, but TL not going to go for the full undive. Piglet Lancerns out of the way. Still want to take out this turret if possible, but maybe overdiving there as Pirean did roam back down. Goldenglue rotated himself back to mid, so the turret will stand for now. Yeah,
maybe should have just focused on the turret instead of actually trying to move forward and pressure some of those members. But here is the play once more. Very good stuff, I'd say, from Piglet and Matt. Playing it very calmly. They see the dive coming in. Piglet moves over to the side, confident in his ability to spell shield. Doesn't actually really get anything, but Lourlo coming in first means they can clean up MikeYeung, and then Reignover and Goldenglue are here very quickly. Mogu with Elise plus the ghosting Orianna make this a pretty heavily TL advantage play.
Easy stuff there for TL as they go extend the lead to 4 kills to nothing and 3,000 gold ahead now. And kind of just waiting for those first item completions to really finish. Goldenglue should be with his first item soon. Looks like Piglet might be a little further off depending on exactly how he wants to go about building either IE or some sort of Zeal item. But regardless, everyone's doing very well here on the Team Liquid side. CS up in every single lane.
Yeah, I'd actually expect Essence Reaver from Piglet. I mean, he could go another way, but I think the Essence Reaver is so powerful, and he is building towards the IE, it looks like. So may want to just go straight up for that DPS build. But I think Essence Reaver is so ridiculously effective on the Sivir because the lower cooldown plus all the mana you're getting back means you can essentially spam out your spells non-stop. It gives you almost infinite wave clear, and having the low cooldown on your ultimate gives you a lot more utility and kind of teamfight engage.
Well, again, TL haven't quite found that first major objective just yet. There was a Cloud Drake available, but not the team that interested just yet. And Team Liquid with their dive in the bottom side did not manage to take down that turret. Going to extend the laning phase for a little while longer as Zig runs in towards that mid lane. Ultimate going to get used, but should be pretty easy to get away from that one. Actually going to walk all the way out of it.
Yeah, not able to really get anything there, but it's a good try on the roam. You can see bot lane should be knocked down as it looked like P1 wanted to try to force a play around mid. I guess they did not feel like they could actually hold on to that bot lane turret, even if they were down there. So Tahm was around mid lane, so was Elise in, perhaps expecting that TL would be ready for the bot lane play and then trying to force their own mid. Unfortunately, TL was actually around mid and means they lose bot lane first turret as well as getting nothing mid.
Yep, 4,000 gold up now for TL. And at this point, I mean, this is a huge lead that Liquid have built for themselves. And going to have to start looking, further into the game and just how efficiently can TL really accelerate this lead. Yes, I think they also have pretty good scaling advantage, so they'll be happy to sit back and slowly get a lead, but this is a team that's been playing with a lot of confidence so far this game as MikeYeung looking to go onto Reignover. Missiles there, but great repel. Might save him as Matt. He's going to hook him back out. Xpecial actually managing to save the juggler, but MikeYeung already went down to the Ignite. Piglet rims it a little too far forward. Is forced to flash out of the way, but TL able to try and save him out there as the play back onto Xpecial is going to get the kill for Goldenglue. Every time P1 try a play, TL are already on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're so far ahead right now, and they have been faster to these plays. So MikeYeung not able to get the execution on Reignover because of a nice repel. And then despite Piglet kind of running through the team there, he's healthy enough, and he has protection from his team to actually survive.
Yep, does have that Infinity Edge now completed, so certainly looking for kind of a greedier build here and maybe snowballing a bit more aggressively. But P1 again tries something here onto Reignover, do get the jump, but doesn't end up well for them.
They just don't really have enough damage, and it's almost the execution there. Corki was not actually in position, so Pirean and MikeYeung not really on the same play. All that Pirean was able to contribute was that one rocket. I mean, had he been right there for, you know, auto and a rocket or something, maybe they kill off Reignover before he can actually repel, but in any case, Reignover able to survive. They do lose summoners on Piglet, but gonna pick up a couple kills.
Yep, from 4 to 5,000 gold. TL still up very significantly here in this game, and well, I have to see exactly where they start roaming around. Looks like they'll collapse with the Drake, because at this point, given how much of a lead you have, you might as well take it off the map, and if nothing else, get another one spawning and kind of see what you get after rolling the dice. They'll get Infernal, so rewarded for their play.
And it's a team that actually movement speed is pretty helpful on, right? You already have Moby Boots on 2 characters. This is going to allow you to move around the map that much more quickly. Elise and Thresh can be almost anywhere with those Moby Boots plus a Crowd Drake, and you know, obviously going to be somewhat helpful for the rest of the team too, but those two in particular are really going to be looking to roam and be proactive.
Oh, looks like Piglet is actually transferring to the top half of the map. 2 daggers joining in alongside that Infinity Edge, so looks like TL going to do the standard thing, but certainly the correct thing, I think, and to start sieging down some of those turrets. Goldenglue has a stranglehold on mid lane right now with a 25 CS lead.
And 3 kills, including first blood. I mean,
up a level.
Plus, they keep taking away the blue buff from their opponents, so it's very, very hard for Pirean from here. And I mean, he's 16 minutes in on a phage, right? Like, when does he actually get his Triforce? When does he get to that point where you start being scared of this Corki? It's going to be so delayed. When you kind of have the ticking time bomb of this Sivir, who is going for a very, you know, you call it kind of greedy build for that late game auto attack focused style, it's really scary because that guy is going to be able to shred through your front line.
Repelled over to Team Liquid. See where they do want to go use it. Piglet already getting worked on this turret, just going to spell shield. Doesn't even bother. Just keeps hitting the turret, make sure he stays in auto range. Lourlo isn't able to defend that turret in the bot side. As Reignover missing a between there onto Zig. So P1 are just trying to make trades at this point, which is smart, but Reignover Empowered Recall going to get him back and try and save this turret.
Yeah, they're trying to not lose out on this trade. I mean, TL from this far ahead should not be taking a 1-for-2 turret trade, right? And if they even finish off the top side, which they do, they are able to get down there and defend using that Rift Herald recall from Reignover, so that is good for them. They at least keep it to an even trade, but you want to always be trading up, and we'll see what TL can do to actually set up this Rift Herald play. If they can get a kill, get a pick or two, you can sometimes cash in on double turrets, so look for them to try to make a play, especially around mid lane, where they could knock down multiple mid lane turrets and really cash in on that Rift Herald.
I think should at least be looking to take the mid outer with that Herald, so can have a couple minutes to set that all up. Piglet still topside, at least for now. Pretty good spot for him to farm with the turret still there and a nice long lane against Maokai. He's not going to offer too much resistance.
Here they go.
Looking for mid. Pirean is the play, but every CC goes wide. In fact, maybe the counterattack on for P1. Not quite yet. Not feeling strong enough, perhaps. Channel is in here for Reignover, so they're going to try it. Good devour though by Xpecial. Kind of immuning the shockwave there from Goldenglue as he did threaten onto Arrow, but this charge should be enough. And TL, no pick, but they'll take the turret.
Yeah, 5 mid. I mean, they look for the pick because if you get that, you can maybe get a second turret, but they're at least securing that first one. You want to be able to guarantee that they do knock down that last outer on the map and extending that gold advantage.
With some Pirean's time here as well, the pretty quick work of the Rift Herald. Again, just kind of keeping track of where Piglet is up to, still building in towards those 3 items. Now back down to the bottom side, looks like he's got full-time 1v1 against Maokai. TL just investing a lot into Piglet's farm in the side lanes, just trying to get him as far ahead as possible. P1 though playing catch-up, so TL can afford to kind of play this one a little slower, and like I said a few minutes ago, Infernal Drake is the next one, so TL have a very obvious point to go fight at in about 3 minutes time.
I think P1 is really hoping to complete some of their major items before that fight comes in. So we do see Pirean now has that Triforce. So you have the Triforce, you have the Righteous Glory, you have a Duskblade. Like, when you can actually get to these relatively strong early item points, their best chance may be trying to force a fight and actually looking for something around that. See if they can get a really good engage with Maokai and maybe pick someone off. Because if you can get that first really quick pick with the Maokai and Elise and this Jhin ultimate, then the fight is essentially, you know, dead even or in your favor. And I think that's what P1 needs to look to do, because they don't want to just sit back and allow TL to scale unless they're super confident that TL is just going to make a mistake later.
Well, again, TL setting up for that next Drake. Minute 45 until that's going to spawn. Piglet is 2v1 right now as Matt just behind him as he gets some mana back from that sapling. I mean, Piglet has so much wave clear, even with the static shift not done. As Reignover is actually down to that bottom side, threatening on a Zig. Zig does W on, but Matt's going to line up that hook. Cocoon lands in, Hook's going to land after, and now Piglet immediately turns on the ultimate to try and fight Goldenglue down. Looks like turret is going to go down here, so TL, no, again, no pick, but they're able to take the objective. P1, though, smartly trading as they take the top outer.
Yeah, I think P1 has actually been playing this quite well from the deficit that they got themselves into. Anytime you're able to get these trades from behind, you're going to be feeling pretty good about it. And they are trying to get themselves to a relatively strong point. They may still be confident that they can just win in a long game. You know, if you're saying, hey, TL is one of the bottom teams, although P1 is too. I mean, you may be thinking, well, they're going to mess up. We don't need to force a fight. We don't need to do anything crazy. We can just wait for them to make a mistake and then try to capitalize on that. So different teams are going to have different approaches to these sorts of disadvantages.
And again, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think I am looking here to TL a lot to see just how cleanly this game ends for them. I mean, they are ahead. The assumption is that they'll win, although certainly that's not guaranteed by any means. But I mean, TL, you look at their series yesterday, and yes, they picked up a win, but there was some miraculous, like, I don't know how this even happened, level objective steals on both the Baron and an Elder.
Yeah, not the way you want to be, and Cho'Gath, Reignover just wanders in and Smite steals it.
Which is not the way you want to be closing out games. So with this sort of advantage, I'm curious to see exactly how smoothly TL can kind of ride this one out. And so far, kind of doing everything correctly. I mean, maybe P1 do think that there is a collapse coming at some point and still grouping to try and make a play as well.
I mean, they are doing well from ahead, but you also have to say that they're taking a lot of even trades as far as the turrets are concerned. And you want to be taking, you know, dominant trades and stuff. But, you know, from their point of view, they're up. They have great scaling. You don't need to do anything crazy. This Infernal Dragon is a good place to fight because they are going to have kind of preemptive vision and try to look to set that up. We'll see if P1 can do anything, though, because they have Package, they have Righteous Glory, they have a lot of these kind of strong early points that they have prepared. And if they can win a big fight and get that Infernal, they're right back in the game.
Actually, a ton of unspent gold for TL as well, both Reignover and Goldenglue have yet to go back, sitting on about 3,500 collectively. So maybe a rough spot here for TL to force, but still with a big enough gold lead to probably get it done.
I mean, we'll see if it actually is, because they gave up the inside track now to P1, and they're going to have to fight through Maokai saplings, which is so annoying, and they're going to go anyway.
Dunk on an arrow, but Xpecial again pulls him out. Matt finds a hook, it's on a Pirean. Piglet around the side with a flank, it's a shockwave. He's going to land in and take him down. Kick back onto Lourlo, but the Lantern's there to save him. Reignover already repelled as TL surge forward to try and take down Zig. He's the next target. He is going to fall there to Lourlo, and P1 just not enough resistance in that fight.
Yeah, great pick there onto Pirean by TL. He would have had to flash some of that CC to actually give him a chance, because the start of the fight actually looked very good for P1. But once Pirean is down, you have no chance. There's not really enough damage left in the tank. And TL out to a very big lead, grabbing the Infernal, grabbing a couple kills for themselves. Be really happy about that one.
And they're going to go back and spend that gold to kind of watch Reignover and Goldenglue's inventories light up. There's the Banshees done for Goldenglue with a blasting one to boot, and Leandry's now finished for Reignover alongside that Runic Echoes. MikeYeung tried a steal, but will not be outdone by Reignover in his performance from yesterday.
And I think this is just really good positioning from P1 at the start of the fight. Your opponents have to fight through Maokai saplings. Like, look at all the chunk on the back line, but then no flash on the hook there from Pirean. Not sure he actually saw it coming, or at least could not react in time. If he avoids that, I think this is a fight that P1 can actually win, because Lourlo and Reignover already chunked out so heavily just from walking through those Maokai saplings. So definitely a little bit of a mechanical misplay there from Pirean, but credit over to Matt for a great hook that really secures them the victory.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pirean, no cleanse, just heal, so not even able to get some additional help out of that. Hard to say exactly what you should be doing on some of the spells because there are so many variables, but regardless, P1 a mess up there in that spot, get their mid laner picked off, and TL in a pretty comfortable fight after that. Still very far ahead in gold, rapidly approaching 7,000 gold ahead. And with another Drake coming up in a couple minutes, it's a mountain, not a second Infernal, unfortunately for them, but we're going to take over this top side of the map now as Arrow. Yeah, you better run. Good Cocoon, good Devour, everything's okay.
Yeah, and they're trying to get vision control around the Baron, because that could be the next step there for TL. If they could grab a relatively early Baron, they could be looking to close out this game pretty quickly here. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do so, as they are establishing vision control. They're retreating back towards that Baron, and do they actually start it up? I think they will.
Looks like the answer is yes. Piglet there with 2.5 damage items, just buying that last Whisper recently. MikeYeung going to get zoned off by Goldenglue, but P1 can't see anything anyway.
Yeah, it's actually pretty smart from Goldenglue, just showing there, being like, hey, we're baiting. Oh, oops, you saw me, right? But they're already on the Baron. There's no vision. There's no way that P1, unless there is a 5-man squad, can actually push up together and check out that Baron with that little time left. So TL, good vision control around the Baron. They grab that objective and now are so far ahead. A lot of gold in their pockets, and they're going to be out on the map looking to knock down the remaining outer turrets.
Yeah, everyone goes back and buys, so really pretty much full duration on this Baron buff to really get some damage done in a siege. 4 turrets to 2 right now, and looks like the top and mid lane tier 2s are the obvious points of entry. There's already a wave built up in top. Looks like Pirean's going to go ahead and answer that. TL looking to force down mid as first things first. Lourlo working that bottom side wave as well, so TL should have tri-lane pressure as they look to kind of move to that second to last step before ending this game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this one looks almost all but wrapped up. Even looking at P1 player cams, no one's even talking, it seems like. You know, it seems like it's one of those situations where the team is maybe shut down a little bit from behind, and it can be really tough. And the only way you're going to get back in a situation like this is being very proactive, being very communicative. So we'll see if they can actually look for one of those plays, but they know it's going to have to be a miracle to find that sort of engage, to find a solo pick where they can actually start to really fight back into the game.
So TL already took the mid lane tier 2, so just kind of doing things the simple way here. Gonna move everyone back up, or almost everyone. Lourlo still bot side under this tier 2 in the top lane, and P1 gonna have to start trying stuff at this point, because they're 10,000 gold behind at this stage of the game, and this turret's gonna die and confirm that big lead. And TL still with a lot of Baron buff left.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of time, and if they can crack the inhibitor here, that would be incredible, but just extending the gold lead, extending the vision advantage is what they're really looking to do, because that is kind of guaranteed. And you can see they have pink wards in the bot side jungle, pink wards in the top side jungle. They're farming their opponent's jungle completely out. You can see Reignover moving around. He's going to farm all these camps before he actually goes back to his side of the map and farms those. So just extending the gold advantage that much further, trying to take every little guaranteed edge that they can actually get here. And now pushing in all sides, making this pretty tough for them to clear out. See if they actually make a push for the inhibitors.
Yep, TL again will have a lot of gold to spend, so no need to go too crazy here. Reignover just poking in onto Arrow, who did get good damage done onto Piglet, but looks like Empowered Recall set up for maybe one last shove. And now everyone's at 3 items. Piglet with the Rapid Fire Cannon now finished, Void Star finished for Goldenglue, and even a Locket for Matt, just to give them a little bit more combat power. Everyone on TL is fully powered up, and P1 gonna have a storm coming straight to the base.
Yeah, and Piglet not electing to go for the Essence Reaver. This is like, the build that he has gone for is the highest DPS 3-item basically. Well, I mean, Essence Reaver in there would be, but for this gold is extremely high DPS auto attack focused build. So it's so hard for even like the frontliners to stand up to this. I mean, yeah, Zig has some armor from the Righteous Glory, and he has the Bramble Vest and tabbies and stuff, but I mean, Piglet's already on 3 items plus a Last Whisper. Like, he has reached the late game stage, right? We have Goldenglue already on his Void Staff with 3 items. Like, these carries are online to absolutely shred tanks, and the tanks are way behind. So it's so hard for P1 to actually win a fight from here unless they can get some sort of miracle engage, some sort of miracle kick. I mean, if you can kick in Piglet and instantly kill him, maybe you can win a fight.
If that doesn't happen though, it's looking pretty dire here for P1 as Pirean with the package might be looking to make that play, but Lourlo getting all that administration done there, trimming that top wave, getting the pushing. Goldenglue going to do the same here in bottom lane, although no need to stay too long. There's even a Mountain Drake for them to get in about 5 seconds time, just to make the sieging even easier. Looks like Baron buff will wear off, so Tia will have time to grab the next one if needed, but they're all set up here. No real reason to delay any longer. Again, you know, don't need to go too crazy, but they're so far ahead that Till can afford to make a few mistakes here, and even then they're probably still fine. Yeah,
I mean, they know P1 has maybe one more play in them, right? And if P1 actually is able to pull off a great play, then hey, they buy more time, right? But for TL, as long as you have vision control, as long as you're farming your opponent's jungle as well as your jungle, you're just extending the lead, extending the lead, extending the lead. So you can wait for them to go for that one play, that one last fight, and then try to absorb that. And if you win that fight, the game ends. P1 would have to win that fight and then probably 3 more fights after that maybe before they can start getting back in.
Yep, Cloud Drake now kicking in as TL looking to weave between bot and mid lane. Lourlo still just presenting constant threat of minions towards that top half, and of course has TP if he needs to join. I mean, he's 2 levels ahead of Zig. I mean, their total experience is certainly very up here for TL, and got more than enough tools to try and siege down. In fact, pretty aggressively moving towards this turret once the wave goes down, and that turret's actually going to die here.
Here goes Zig. This could be the play.
Zig looking for it. Piglet, though, able to get out. In fact, they just turn and fight instead. He gets hooked down. Matt going to box him in, and now Piglet kites his way back around Zig, almost getting shredded as Lourlo. He's going to look for the dunk. Arrow flashes out of the way as MikeYeung forced to book it. Zig going down. Piglet able to crit his face off. MikeYeung almost down as Piglet. He's just going crazy under the turrets right now. Reignover lining up that last few pick. Goldenglue looks for the shockwave, but Pirean flashes it, but P1 scattered to the wind.
Yeah, I mean, P1 back in the well. TL knocking down the inhibitor. They still have some minions. May want to just kind of go around the horde and actually clear all of them out. And it looks like that is going to be the option for them. They already have bot wave pushing in, but Hero has to be careful.
Piglet is playing with an insane amount of confidence here, as well as Lourlo TP's back in just to make sure this tower also falls down. About 10 seconds left on MikeYeung. Zig following in just a couple after. So TL, they do the damage, they book it. And then again, just reset and do it again in top lane.
Yeah, it's so hard now for P1. You know, with both inhibitors down, this far down in gold. They're so far down in experience as well, as you mentioned. I mean, Piglet up 3 levels, Reignover up 3 levels, 2 levels up in top lane. So the only real kind of close matchup as far as experience goes is mid. And here's the play again. Zig trying to look for that engage. They know they need to force something. It's not the ideal fight, obviously, but they needed to make something happen at that point. And Lourlo diving in. All of TL just chasing in here. Piglet and Goldenglue are both untouched. And if that's the case, there's no way you're going to win one of these fights.
Goldenglue there. Again, just committing the shockwave. Not a bother that it missed, because Pirean was going to die if it did.
And gets the flash.
Yep.
So, I mean, they forced all the summoners now off their opponents as well. If you look across the board, Exhaust is really the only one left. And Arrow now caught out a bit, but we'll be able to get out of there.
Xpecial saves 1. So he can save the rest. TL maybe a little too early on that play, but Pirean's up in 5 seconds, so might as well back off there. Again, they know P1 don't have any summoners, can barely have any vision, gonna lose their blue buff. And I mean, apart from a couple of kind of sloppy trades in the early game on those turrets, TL very well was set up to perfect game P1 here. P1 still don't have a kill this late into the game, and it kind of speaks to the plays they have made that just have not worked out.
Yeah, I mean, TL has played a very good game. They can be proud of this game. From strong early laning to what's looking like a big engage here.
Time to go. Oh my goodness, everybody piling in. Zig, he absorbing a lot of that damage at the Lockets pop. Goldenglue just takes down that tank. TL shred through the front line. Arrow barely lives through the onslaught. TL just straight back to Baron.
Yep, go right back to Baron. Maokai is now down. So hard for them to actually face check into this, and I think it's going to be an uncontested Baron here for TL. MikeYeung not even moving up towards that side of the map, so P1 going to try to get some minion waves under control, try to get a little bit of farm under their belts, but P1 are looking up against it. TL's going to be looking to make the death push.
And I like the pace that TL just kind of pushing here. They go for the engage, because you know what? We could sit on Baron, but no need to. No need to recall either. We're already far enough ahead with the Baron. Let's just make the most of the buff.
Yeah, and utilizing that Sivir ultimate, they're going to go right in, find the one pick, go right to Baron, pick that up, and now this is the 3rd inhibitor going down uncontested. TL going to be looking to close out game number 1.
Yep, not looking for these waves to reset, just looking to end the game as soon as possible. Zig is back, Reignover could be the first one to whoopsie, lands there, gets himself out of the way.
Oh,
Zig holds him all the way in. Arrow gets picked off by Goldenglue. Reignover lives, and Goldenglue just chasing the rest of them out. Still not dead as Reignover barely holds on, and Team Liquid will hold on to their flawless death record in this game. Hook barely missing Xpecial as MikeYeung and Pirean getting blasted by Goldenglue's damage. And these Nexus turrets are going to fall. The Nexus exposed, and Team Liquid a very impressive Game 1 win over Phoenix1.
That's certainly one they can be proud of. You know, they won a series yesterday, but it was sloppy. Now coming in with a great game against P1, not giving up a single kill. They lose only 2 turrets. They lose no Barons, no Dragons. This was really very, very dominant stuff from TL from start to finish.
It was. And again, it was nice to see reacting well to a lot of these plays, and then by the time they found a lead, setting themselves up really well and kind of realizing, okay, you know, we are ahead, let's actually push our lead a bit, and actually closing out the game with significantly more decisiveness than we've seen from Team Liquid in the past. I mean, this, I think, is the type of thing we would have expected from this team all the way back in week 1. Unfortunately for them, it's week 7, so a little late, but hey, better late than never if you're trying to get out of that relegation spot.
Yeah, and they need to win games like this. I mean, P1 as well, like, these two teams are up against it, right? They are tied for last right now in the league, so you need to be picking up wins if you're trying to strive for that 8th place spot, avoid promo relegation, avoid that stress and uncertainty for your team.
And we've already mentioned, you know, there is a lot more on the line for P1, but I'm sure we can address that later, as TL can definitely be proud of the couple of wins they've been able to rattle off here in this one. I mean, Goldenglue having finally some more life in him, I feel like. Yes, he was gifted so much help with how the early roam moved out, but did play with his lead very well.
He did, and I think that this is one of the few times you'll see Reignover and Goldenglue actually working extremely well together to extend that lead, to get in that lead in the first place. And I think Lourlo deserves a lot of credit for that early roam, which kind of swung that first fight and blew the game wide open, I think. But Goldenglue, great game from him, 5-0-5, I think really did push his lead well, and TL as a whole can be proud.
Looking good across the board. We're going to throw it over to the analysts to see what they make of that Team Liquid win.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. Things continue to look good here for Team Liquid after they won over Team Envy just yesterday. Now one up against Phoenix1 here in their series today. Granted, this is our 2 bottom-of-the-table teams, but when we talk about must-wins, when we talk about edging your way out of that promotion tournament, relegation tournament zone, this is the way you have to do it.
And I got to say, I'm a little surprised, too, because it's 7-14. Everyone's trying out these new champions. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be maybe a good chance for TL to kind of adapt because, you know, Reignover on tank junglers and this and that. And then as you see this draft and you say, this is, for the most part, a 7-13-ish draft.
I like this.
Yeah, that's a little
I
reverse.
wish that's how it was. That would have been fun to watch.
I don't want to see Piglet in the mid lane ever again. I'll take him on the Sivir, please.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyways, yeah, minus the Sivir pick, which is starting to develop a little bit more, though it hasn't seen direct changes. It's just the fact that the bot lane is less aggressive in terms of like the harassment in lane.
Right,
That's
and the
why
utility of Sivir supports tanks so much more.
Right, so I can understand the Sivir con coming back, but for the most part, this is a pretty standard team comp. That was something that, you know, Team Liquid could have been playing at any point this year, but they executed much better this time around.
Yeah, exactly. And we maybe return to this near the end of the segment, but it raises some questions around this Team Liquid roster and whether or not confidence and time is really all they needed to kind of start gelling into, you know, a well-oiled machine. We'll get there. Because on the flip side, when we talk about Champion Select and patch 7.14, in this game, as well as the game that's happening simultaneously over on NALCS1, there are a total of 19 unique champions being played on the Rift right now. The only common factor is the Jhin pick in both games. I'm not going to go ahead and list all the other ones, but the point is to say that we've got Tank in the top lane, you know, pseudo tank Bruiser. We've got Camille's being played. Jax is being played in the split push. We have aggressive early game junglers in these two. We've got tank junglers in the Cho'Gaths and the Sejuanis and the Zacs. That's permaban. We have now Rumble being played on the other stream right now in the mid lane. We've got all kinds of craziness happening, or sorry, not in the mid lane, in the jungle. We got all kinds of craziness happening across both streams. My question to you is, when we thought that it was going to be all about tanks and lethality and how those things interact, do we misunderstand the meta? Are the teams misunderstanding the meta? Is everything just good and we're in the most diverse meta in the history of League of Legends? What's going on?
Well, when you say meta, that's saying that there's some kind of, you know, group collective understanding of how the game's played. I think right now that's lacking. There's a lack of meta currently where, yes, a lot of things are in flux. You can always still go pocket and comfort. Even when things are super standard, you still see people sometimes trying to throw a wrench in it. At this point, and I was talking to Tony Zixlol, the coach for CLG, backstage a little bit, and he was saying on red side, he feels like teams have no idea what to ban because red side is usually the standard 3 bans, you know.
Just ban what's OP.
Yeah, you see that, you know, last meta in spring when it was, you know, LeBlanc, Rengar, Camille every game. That doesn't exist right now. You don't know what's actually the most OP thing. So that means a lot of stuff is getting through. People are trying to figure it out. And then the other thing that happens is, especially when a big patch comes out and you only have 1 week to prep for it, is you only play the teams that you will not be playing that week. And so once again, you get these little mini metas developing for a week or two before there's much, you know, dissemination of information.
Right.
And then
that's how we end up with things like Kalista, Ken, and bot lane, while other people are playing Janna and other people are sticking with tank pick supports.
Yeah, so you just end up with people who, they experimented with one thing. The teams they were playing experimented with one thing, and then they have these 2 ideas that they came up with, where somewhere else, someone else came up with 2 different ideas, and there's 3 different ideas over there.
So the expectation then would be that after this week, moving into week 8, we might have a fair bit more clarity on an actual league-wide meta as opposed to these individual metas that are developing as a result of scrim partners.
Right, most likely just because a ton of things are changing. Like you said, are Duskblade champions actually strong? Is Kayn actually good? Is Cho'Gath the OP champion? Some teams aren't even playing him. You don't even see him in this game, right?
Well, he got banned.
He got banned, excuse me. But in previous series earlier in the day, he was getting through unpicked, unbanned.
Yes,
so
no, I'm with you.
Yeah, just no one knows exactly what is the right thing to be doing right now.
Right, well, and a lot of people would argue, hey, Maokai is actually
That's
hugely
one thing
important, right?
I think people will probably start agreeing on pretty quickly.
But then who do you drop, right? When we talk about those red side bans and having to ban out the OPs, what are you willing to give up here? Because, all right, maybe Zach just isn't getting practiced anymore, so you leave that up for the potential, but we still know his power level is through the roof right alongside Caitlyn and Cho'Gath. Anyway, don't want to delay too much on Champions League. Let's get into the game itself. 10 minutes in, Team LCKR comes up with a big 2-0 in the bot lane. This is after that play that Azale mentioned where Lourlo had a sweet roam down to secure the first blood.
Yeah, overall, Lourlo is having a really good game in terms of being connected on what's happening on the map, that roam there, and then here getting to teleport in
way
first.
sooner.
Yeah, able to get involved, blows up MikeYeung on the backside. Matt wraps around to the other side and meets up with Goldenglue, who helps make sure he gets out, and then the whole rest of the team is able to collapse for this second kill. They don't actually take the turret on this push, but they do push the wave in, get it very low, and then they return and grab that turret later, and it's just a really clean snowball from there. Never lost a fight.
That's the thing, right? It all of a sudden is like a switch was flipped, and this Team LCKR roster looks good, right? That's the goal graph that we want to see out of every team when they pick up a win. You build your small advantages, and then those kind of curtail into an exponential lead, and you close it out cleanly.
And just jump back to what you were saying at the start of the segment, where we were saying, you know, oh, is Team LCKR just needed time and you know, some time to gel? I think the big thing is confidence, because they did so poorly in Spring Split, and there was such a backlash from the community, and you can't help but read some of that. You get in your own head a little bit.
Right.
The roster comes back together, is not immediately successful. You probably start to doubt yourself as a 5-man unit where you just don't think you can win, and as soon as something goes wrong, you kind of fall apart in games. And we saw that pretty clearly. And now, with a couple wins, I think it's starting to get to the point where they're starting to have some confidence back. And when you look at the names on this team, they should be good with Piglet, Reignover, Lourlo, and even Matt, who can be streaky at times, but has had very good showings.
Right, exactly. You look at that roster on paper, and you want to say that that could be a top half NALCS team, you know, in any split in the history of the NALCS. It's not there right now. Why is that? It could have large part to do with confidence, but getting the win over Envy yesterday, a team that is in the top half of the standings, getting their work done here against Phoenix1. If they can move themselves to 4-10 with 4 games left to play, there's definitely the possibility of getting out of that relegation promotion tournament zone.
Right, there's a lot of teams struggling right now in terms of, you see Cloud9 is a 6th place team, and then from there there's a big drop off. There's a tie for the 7th, 8th place, and then tie again for 9th, 10th. If Team LCKR is able to win this one, they separate themselves from P1. They start closing in on FlyQuest, and Echo Fox, who have been struggling recently. Absolutely.
Player of the game going to Goldenglue this time around. Again, we talked about all the other players on the roster, but he actually stepped up big on that Orianna pick. It is one of his more comfort champions, but good roams to all of the early skirmishes, as this was such a skirmish-heavy game, never really having full setup 5v5s, doing a real good job of getting out of his lane and aiding his teammates.
Right, you saw what we were talking about, the top side where he's chasing out. Then here, that bot lane fight showed up just at the right time, and he's able to land a couple big ultimates as well. Even at the end of the game, you saw him a pretty monster one to help close it out. So just a really solid team performance, though, where, like you said, it was these scrappy fights. It wasn't just one person going off and dominating, or you're like one big ultimate to win them the game.
Great start for TL. We'll see if Phoenix1 can even up the score when we come back with Game 2 against Team LCKR. See you soon.
MikeYeung gets the tag, but Lourlo's down here already. MikeYeung looking to make a heroic play, but a great kick in for Reignover. Lourlo starts it off, does trap him though. Great kind of mini-immune there on the ultimate, and Zeke goes down to Reignover.
Listen, no flash. Fight slow.
As slow as possible.
Yeah, slow as possible. The most slow possible way, okay?
I'm here now. I'm coming to you. I have no lantern.
I'm coming here. Fight slow. Jarvan come first. We can fight. Go flash. Nice, good job.
Give me tower.
Matt finds a hook, it's on a Pirean. Piglet around the side with a flank of the shockwave. He's going to land in and take him down. MikeYeung forced to book it. Zeke going down. Piglet having to crit his face off. MikeYeung almost down as Piglet. He's just going crazy under the turrets right now. Goldenglue just chasing the rest of them out. Still not dead as Reignover barely holds on. And Team LCKR will hold on to their flawless death record in this game.